Now next topic, agent of pollination. Agent. What we have seen in lower plants. Lower plants means I told yesterday about the algae, bryophytes, algae, bryophytes, and algae, bryophytes, and pteridophytes. Algae, bryophytes, and pteridophytes. Okay. Algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes. Yesterday I told for this fertilization there is the need of water. So pollinating agent that will be act as a water. In lower plants, basically algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, there is the need of water for the pollination. For the pollination, there is the need of water. For fertilization, because pollination covers by the fertilization. Pollination, we are generally using this term into the angiosperm because pollen grains never form into the lower plant. Okay, lower plants they have the different types of the structure. Okay, so algae they have the biflagellate, bryophyta also biflagellate spores, pteridophyta they have the multiflagellate spores. If you read in CRT also saying, if you see the distribution of bryophytes and pteridophytes, distribution of bryophytes, and pteridophytes. The distribution of bryophytes and pteridophytes is narrow. Pteridophytes is narrow. Why narrow? Narrow means they have distributed very less places. They are not widely distributed. Okay. So the distribution of bryophytes and pteridophyte is very narrow, very less. Why? Why? Because the pollinating agent only the water. So water is the necessary for pollination, necessary for fertilization to move from here to there. So that's why in bryophytes and pteridophytes they have the local distribution, very narrow distribution, because the water is compulsory for the pollination. So without water they cannot perform the fertilization. Okay, in this way the bryophytes and pteridophytes they have the narrow distribution, but algae we can't say, because we know very well 70% of our earth, 70% of our earth is occupied by H2O. It is occupied by the H2O, means water. Clear? So in this way algae they have the widely distributed. And if you read the characteristics of the algae, 50% photosynthesis on earth is accompanied by the alga. Is it clear? Is it okay, students?
Yes, sir.
Fine, very good. Now listen. Agents of pollination or pollinating agents, plants used to abiotic and water. Yesterday I have discussed little bit about the pollinating agent. Pollinating agent. Pollinating agent. Pollinating agent they have classified into the two different types. First one is the abiotic. Abiotic, and second is the biotic. Abiotic and biotic. Abiotic will be the two. First one is the water and second is the wind. Clear? First one is the water and second one is the wind. Okay. And in case of the biotic, that you can say birds, second is the insect, third is the reptiles, fourth is the Chiropterophilly. Okay. So listen here. Birds, if the pollination takes place through the birds, can you tell such type of the pollination is known as? The study of bird is known as? The study of bird is known as? Anyone? Enna solunga?
Ornithology.
Very good. Excellent. Ornithology. The study of bird is known as the ornithology. So pollination takes place through the bird. So you have to use the Ornithophilly. Logy remove and you add the Ornithophilly. Ornithophilly. Clear? Ornithophilly. PH. double Ly. Ornithophilly. Clear? If the pollination takes place through the birds, that is called ornithophilly. If the study of insect is known as entomology. The study of insect is known as the entomology. So you can use also entomophily. Entomophily. Clear? Reptiles, through the reptiles, that is called herpetology. Herpetophily. Herpetophily. Clear? Herpetophily. If it will take place through the snake, ophiophily. Ophiophily. Ophiology means the study of a snake. And Chiropterophilly. Chiropterophilly means they have the two feather. Chiropteron. This is a type of insects, type of bats, and that you can say butterfly also comes. Okay. So birds, ornithophily, insect, entemophily, reptiles, herpetophily, takes place through the snakes, ophiophily, chiropterophily. Okay. And if that takes place through the water, that you can say hydrophily. And if the pollination takes place through the wind, what you will say? If the pollination takes place through the wind, anyone solunga?
Anemophilly.
Very good. That will be the Anemophilly. So these are the different agents which involves in the pollination phenomenon. So there is the two types of agent, abiotic and biotic. Abiotic means water and wind, while biotic birds, insects, reptiles, chiropterophily. Okay. And what we have seen in case of the gymnosperm. Okay. Gymnosperm, most of the time, mostly, which type of pollination takes place? Mostly anemophily. In gymnosperm, mostly anemophily type of pollination takes place. Anemophily type of pollination takes place. Are you getting or not? In gymnosperm, we are not talking about angiosperm. I'm talking about the gymnosperm. So in gymnosperm, the most of the pollination or most of the pollinating agent will be the air. So such type of the pollination is known as the anemophily. Is it okay? But in case of the angiosperm, it is going to vary. Some may be birds, insect, snake, reptiles, or chiropterophily, or water. Okay, in wind also is there. Okay. Now look it. Majority of the plants use biotic agent for the pollination. Very important line. Very important line for the angiosperm. Angiosperm, majority of pollination means 80%. Majority of pollination use biotic agent. Use biotic agents. Are you getting or not what I'm saying? Means 80% pollination generally covered by or accompanied by biotic agent. Okay, biotic agent. Apart from them, so 20%, clear? So 20% it may be through the abiotic. Okay, but 80% pollination generally accompanied through the biotic agents. Is it okay? Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Now listen. Only a small proportion of plants use a biotic agent. Okay, they have given. I told how many percent? 20%. I told apart from this, means remaining portion of 20%, they should be performed through the abiotic agents. Pollen grains coming in contact with the stigma, a chance factor in both wind and water pollination. Okay, yeah, they are saying the pollen grains, they can come through the stigma with the help of water, or water with the air or water. To compensate for this uncertainty and associated loss of pollen grain, the flower produces enormous amount of pollen when they compare to the number of ovules available for pollination. Okay, what is saying? If the pollinators or pollen grain moving through the water or wind, so nature also thought, if I will release this pollen grain through the, they will travel through the water or wind, so some may be lost, Some they cannot arrive their target organ. Some they cannot arrive their destiny. So nature thought we can produce huge amount. Okay, we can produce the enormous number of the pollen grain. So someone maybe can arrive at that particular place. Someone can maybe arrive at their destiny. Okay, so then nature thought we can prepare or we can produce enormous amount of pollen grain. Okay, the nature thought nature they have planned we can produce enormous number of the pollen grain, so they can easily arrive or they can easily reach up to your destiny. Okay, up to your target place. Clear? So they have given, if you read, the flowers produce enormous amount of pollen when compared to the number of ovules available for pollination. Okay, so means if we'll compare between the ovule and pollination. Okay, if you'll compare between ovule and pollen grain, ovule and pollen grain, ovule will be one or two, but pollen grain may be 1,000, 10,000, lakhs, means million. We can't say million, but more than 1,000, 10,000 pollen grains released into the nature. Someone may be arrive at their destiny, someone may be lost, someone may be dried, someone cannot move, someone not brought together, someone not brought by the wind or air. So okay, so these things can also be happen, can be also happen. Is it okay? Is it clear? Okay. Pollination by wind is more common amongst the abiotic pollinators. Okay, I told what we have seen in case of the gymnosperm. I told gymnosperm is the also pollination basically takes place through the wind. In gymnosperm, pollination takes place through the wind. Okay, now so maximum, that's why they have given in abiotic factor, sorry, abiotic components, abiotic pollinating agent, abiotic pollinating agent, abiotic pollinating agent. Clear? Abiotic pollinating agent. In the abiotic pollinating agent, what we are seeing, in which is the common, most common is the wind. Okay, because abiotic I told water and air. So air, wind is the common, in which also which is common, wind is common. Wind pollination also requires that the pollen grains are light and non-sticky so that they can be transferred in the wind currents. Okay. If the pollination takes place through the anemophilly, anemophilly, anemophilly type of pollination takes place. So they have given some condition. The condition should be the pollen grain should be light. Pollen grain should be light. Light means that not flush light. I'm talking about the less weight. Less weight. The pollen grain should be less weight. Clear? Means light. You can say Light. Pollen grain should be light. This is the first condition. Second condition, non-sticky. It should be non-sticky. Suppose that air is blowing. If a stick is there, what happens? Some air blows, means with the water, sorry, with air current, they move some places. But what happens? They stick together. They stick there. They cannot move. Okay. So non-sticky. Second condition during the anemophily, it should be non-sticky. Okay. The pollen grain light and non-sticky, so that can be moved from very easy. Okay, so for the pollination, if the pollination occurred through the wind, so that pollen grain have the two mini graminy or OAC. Clear? So three different types of the family which is belonging to the monocot: Liliaceae, Farmaceae, Graminaceae. Clear? Liliaceae, Farmaceae, Graminaceae. These three are different family which is belonging to the monocot. You have to never forget LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, liberalization, privatization, globalization, and Liliaceae, Farmaceae, and Graminaceae. So these three are the family which is considered as a monocot. Now, non-sticky, so that can be transported to the wind. They often possess well-exposed stamen so that the pollens are easily dispersed into the wind current. Okay. They possess well-exposed stamen. Suppose that this is the stamen structure. Stamen structure. So it should be well exposed. Exposed means it will be open. The stamen should be open. It always open. So by which air currents strike them and they can easily blow. They can easily blow from there. Okay. So in this way, the stamen should be easily exposed and pollens easily dispersed into the wind current. Okay. So this is the story about the Anemophilly pollination, and remaining portion we will discuss day after tomorrow, because tomorrow will be the Sunday, but you will not enjoy. You have to homework to solve the MCQs of this chapter. So thank you to all of you. We will meet